Hey guys, this is Danny Boy. So, we are on Rannoch. We'll be facing the Geth some more. I'm now using the Raider and the Phalanx as my weapons, and I'm still using Charge, and it is wonderful. The Geth Dreadnought was just so slow and boring. This was actually very fun. I really enjoyed this mission and the next. Wasn't difficult, really, but it wasn't super easy either. And yes, I'm using warp ammo as my bonus skill. I'll eventually be speccing out of that, though not until after Rannoch, I believe. And that's pretty much it. I was ranting in my last episode about things, and I will talk about that a bit more once the plot is over.
Commander Shepard, this is Admiral Zan. Have you reached Zelkorus' escape pod?
Not yet. What's your status?
The civilian fleet has taken significant losses since Zelkorus sacrificed his ship to destroy a Geth ground cannon. Searching for their lost admiral is the only thing keeping the captains from panicking.
What makes finding the Admiral a priority?
Despite opposing the invasion, he did an admirable job protecting our civilian ships. Without him, some of our non-combatants are planning to leave the flotilla. Picture the consequences, if you will.
They've lost a leader in a war they didn't want.
Their wants are immaterial. We are committed. Even Zelkorus understood the civilian fleet's importance. The invasion would be stalled without a supply chain, after all.
I'll do what I can. Keep your civilians safe.
I make no promises. My own ships must be coordinated for our final strike on Rannoch.
I'm getting some static.
It appears Zelkorus crashed within range of a Geth jamming tower. You must disable it to contact him. Make sure to proceed with caution.
Zen? Admiral Zen?
Well, this should make things interesting.
We'll see in a minute. Take us in to the tower.
We're taking fire. The Geth installed anti-aircraft guns beside the jamming tower.
We'll have to disable them on foot. Once the guns are gone, you take out the tower.
Right, Commander. Setting you down here.
My people have been in exile for centuries. To be standing here in the land of my ancestors?
Jamming towers. Clever. But if we just towed in some asteroids...
You want to drop meteors on Rannoch? You'd make it unlivable.
The dust would settle, and you've already got the suits.
Alright, so at the very end of my last episode, I started talking a little bit about this, but just, you might say, well, if I have a problem with the difficulty, why am I not just running around in N7 armor with a Predator pistol and not using powers? You know, if you want the game to be hard, you can make it hard. And there's a number of reasons why I don't do that. Well, for one thing, I already do that to a small extent. I already don't upgrade weapons. I don't use the intel upgrades, and I don't upgrade mods generally, just what I find. There's that.
You all right?
But
Okay.
if I just ran around with an N7, with the N7 armor, you know, just the default armor, no upgrades, no powers, just used a pistol, it would be very, very, very boring. Nobody would watch it, and I would contemplate suicide, because it would be awful. So I'm not going to do that, and I shouldn't have to do that to make the game challenging. The game should be challenging on its own. You should have to employ a variety of tactics to overcome an obstacle. But that doesn't mean it needs to be soul-crushing. It should just be very rewarding for people who play the game well. And I suppose it is. I mean, if you play the game well, you don't really have trouble. So maybe it's already there. But I feel like, just with the way the game scales, the player outscales the opposition very rapidly. I feel like enemies should have more health and shields later in the game to compensate for the fact that your powers are getting stronger and are doing more damage. And I feel like, certainly considering there are weapon upgrades in the game and such, they should scale to compensate for that as well. As I talked about in one of my Citadel missions, I forget which episode it was, but I was on the Citadel facing Cerberus. Talked about how ultimately you want players to feel like they're getting more powerful, but really they're staying the same, because that makes the game challenging throughout. It makes it consistently difficult. And as long as players have the illusion, the psychology of getting more powerful, they'll never even realize it until they've beaten the game anyway. And then you've done your job. You want to give players more and more options, but you want the AI and you want the enemy groups to improve to compensate for that, to require you to have to utilize the options to even succeed, to even overcome the challenge. It's not an option to use new tactics, you have to use new tactics. At least that's how I feel. Good example of that, I would say, would be Dragon Age 1 on Nightmare. That was a game that was pretty difficult throughout. The final fight wasn't much, but the dragons especially were pretty tough. And you get new abilities and whatever, but the enemies also just... You face different types of enemies as time goes on, and different situations and whatever. If I had one main complaint about the enemies, it would just be that they don't gain new abilities as time goes on. I would love if brutes got big freaking laser beams attached to their heads. I would love if Cerberus, regular Cerberus troopers, you know, they can still just have red bar, I guess, but maybe just have twice the red bar that they had in the beginning of the game. You know, the assault troopers. Give them different weapons, you know, give regular troopers falcons or something later in the game. Create Cerberus grenadiers later in the game or something. Make turrets different and more interesting. Maybe make turrets shoot rockets eventually. And perhaps eventually turrets can't be sabotaged if their engineer is still alive. The engineers have a scrambling field that prevents turrets from being sabotaged, so you need to take out the engineer first. And every single Atlas mech in the game, barring maybe the very first one, should be accompanied by a couple of engineers to repair it. What else could you do? I mean, Banshees should be made more difficult. Banshees should maybe act as barrier engines, just themselves. Or have a mobile biotic sphere. Granted, when the game came out, that ability didn't exist. You know, there's a lot you can do. Perhaps Geth Prime's combat drone should actually do something. That would be an improvement. As of right now, I don't really know what they do. The Geth, I think, are pretty well fine on their own. You face them so late in the game, and they're pretty varied. Hunters are a pain. Primes are fairly difficult, though they really shouldn't have made Geth so susceptible to sabotage. They certainly shouldn't have made... Perhaps, here's something, maybe as long as a Geth Prime has a combat drone out, or something, or a turret, it prevents them from being sabotaged. Geth Prime should not have been able to be sabotaged. That makes them too easy to deal with. Along with, you know, maybe the Geth turret should have given them large shield boosts while they're out, so you actually have to attack the turrets. And I don't want to make the game impossible, these are just some ideas. I'm sure other people have far better ideas than I. You know, The goal of a developer is not to make your game unbeatable. You want to set your players up for victory. You want them to win, and that's hard, because you need to create a challenge that is surpassable, surmountable, without it being trivial. So you want to give your players all the tools they need to succeed, while still making it hard. You never ever want to hear players trying an encounter for hours and still failing, because you want everybody ultimately to succeed rather. And that's why you have multiple difficulty levels, to ensure that, but I just feel like Insanity did not ramp it up enough
Radios are down.
for the highest difficulty, personally. And I don't want to sound super critical. I really do enjoy the game. I love the game. I've had a lot of fun playing the game. If I didn't, I wouldn't have, you know,
Filled with gas.
hundreds of videos of the game. I literally have hundreds of episodes of Mass Effect 3 at this point. If I didn't enjoy it, I would have dumped it long ago, and would be playing something else right now. So, and I am not giving up yet. I'm still having fun. I might bitch and moan, but I am still having fun. I'm still enjoying the Vanguard. I don't find it super boring or anything. And I'm really looking forward to more playthroughs. I'm not anywhere near burnt out yet. So I just can't stress that enough.
Please, listen. The civilian fleet didn't want this war.
One thing I wish that they didn't get rid of enemies like the Vorcha or the Krogan. Especially the Krogan. Krogan were always fun to fight. They were always a threat. And I really miss them. I guess Krogan, for all intents and purposes, were replaced by Phantoms. They pretty much act the same way. They're just a melee opponent that closes.
Rest well, Rannoch.
But I miss the Krogan.
Let's get to that.
I wish that the Krogan Reaper was a bit tougher. Brutes really do not do the Krogan justice, in my opinion. Probably because they have no ranged component, and they have such a huge delay between their attacks. They swing once, and then it's like you have 5 or 6 seconds to just do what you want with them, and then they're easily avoided again. Not that Krogan were super hard to deal with either, if you knew what you were doing, and just depending on the class and what have you. But I really wish that there were more types of Reapers. I wish that they introduced Vorcha Reapers as time went on, as a new sort of rank-and-file grunt enemy. I don't really know what they would do. Vorcha had regenerative powers, but I'm not sure. I mean, cannibals already kind of do that. They eat the corpses, and that gives them armor, and I think it also heals them. Another example, why did I not just get hit by that flamethrower pyro? Why did it not stun me and basically instantly give me, like it would have in Mass Effect? Or rather, Mass Effect 2. In Mass Effect 2, if you're hit by a flamethrower, not only will it break your shield and do a lot of damage, but it will also stun you for a significant period of time, almost ensuring your death. Why doesn't it do that in this one? Geth pyros really are nowhere near as threatening as pyros in Mass Effect 2. Granted, they also have shields and armor, rather than just having armor. But I still don't feel like that's worth it. And I actually just heard somebody take the turret. For some reason, he didn't shoot me. It makes a distinct sound when somebody gets in the turret. And I don't remember if I talked about this or not, but once again, if I did, you can shoot Geth rockets out of the air before they hit you, so something to keep in mind. If you have, say, an assault rifle, you know, you can just get line of fire and just shoot it down before it actually hits you. Right now I'm trying to charge the trooper, but it wouldn't let me. The trooper in the turret, it wouldn't let me for some reason. I guess because the turret's just blocking me. Blocking line of sight. But that worked well enough. Hopefully, eventually they'll have DLC, and it'll introduce new Reapers, and it will cover any races that didn't have a Reaper
Let's look at the gun console. We should be able to disable it.
analog. Like the Vorcha. No, Varen? Varen would have been cool. They're not actually a race. I miss Varen, though.
On this gun, Shepard.
I miss the different mechs in the previous game. I miss Fenris mechs and
You bet.
Loki mechs. Granted, if you have Sabotage, you already are It's so easy to deal with any sort of mech that maybe they shouldn't add any more mechs to the game. They would just be trivial for anybody that has sabotage. And once you get Tally, and everybody can get Tally. It would be great if they eventually added an expansion or just a really comprehensive DLC that improved difficulty globally in Insanity. I realize that there is a mod that somebody has been making for it. I think they call it Spectre difficulty, though I looked at it and he buffed things that I don't want buffed. So I'm not going to touch it. Plus, I don't know if modding the game breaks any sort of licensing agreements or EULA or something. I have no desire to do that. Considering I make videos for the game, I don't want those all taken down. But DLC, or God forbid an expansion that just added new enemy types to the entirety of the game, not just one quick 2 or 3 hour level, but or little, you know, 3 hour bit of content, but the whole game, adding new types of enemies would be really cool. Improving certain areas that were really easy, that shouldn't have been that easy, would be cool. Or adding a Spectre difficulty, adding yet another difficulty level. What would that make it? A 6th difficulty? A 7th difficulty? I feel like Mass Effect 2, the difficulty ramped up a lot more on Insanity than in Mass Effect 3. And there were reasons for this. For one thing, they wanted to allow you to still have red bar enemies because in Mass Effect 2, it made a lot of abilities worthless on Insanity, and they didn't want to go down that road again. And the sheer fact that they actually cared enough about Insanity, because that's only a problem really on Insanity, maybe Hardcore, I don't really know, but I know it's not a problem on anything lower than Hardcore. The fact that they actually cared about the small subset of their player base that plays on Insanity, because I can guarantee you the vast majority of players don't play on Insanity, and I don't mean that from an elitist, I'm so awesome, herp to derp perspective. I'm just saying the vast majority of people, just in general, play on the default difficulty. That's not just Mass Effect, that's all video games. They just play on the default difficulty, play through it once, and that's it, if they even beat it. A lot of people don't even bother beating it, because let's face it, a lot of video games, especially RPGs, are huge time commitments, and a lot of people just don't have that time for a hobby.
No problem.
So that's pretty cool that they actually cared enough to bother rebalancing the game for that. I just feel like they overdid it a bit. You know, they wanted you to be able to kill an enemy without firing a shot, like they built the Adept in Mass Effect 2, but by doing that, they made things too easy. And it's not easy to balance these things. I mean, creating a careful balance to please everybody just isn't a simple task. Again, I don't want to sound too critical. I'm not saying, like, I could do it better. I don't know jack shit about making video games, obviously. I just play them. So, not saying I could do it better. These are just things I've noticed from playing. This is it, guys. We just have a lot of plot left, and like a turret sequence. So, thanks for watching, stay tuned for more, and have a good one.
I'm coming in with a shuttle. Where are you?
My surviving crew found their way to a clearing. I'll upload their location.
Stay together. We'll meet you there.
No, the Geth have cut me off. I hear another wave approaching.
Give us your coordinates.
Leave me. My crew will soon be overrun.
So will you.
My people are non-combatants, Shepard. They'll be slaughtered. Rescue them.
Admiral, I need you leading the civilian fleet if we're going to end this fight.
Civilians? Our entire race took up arms for this insanity. It's too late for us.
It's only too late if you die down here.
You can't possibly think you can stop this war.
I don't know. What I do know is that I can't do it without your help.
Ancestors, forgive me. Uploading my coordinates.
We're coming.
behind you. Get in cover. Clear, go!
Admiral, come on! Welcome aboard.
Shepard, my crew. Perhaps there's still time. Hello? This is Zalcoris. Does anyone copy? Hello?
We've got to go.
I pray they found comfort in the homeworld skies.